I'm Joel.
And I'm James from Better Music, and today we're going to check out the new El Cajon by Roland. So this is an acoustic cajon. It's wood, it's got snare wires built in, and you can play it just the same way as you would play a normal cajon.
So wherever you might think to use a cajon, you can use the El Cajon. So Jimmy and I were thinking of any acoustic music, street performers, buskers, jamming with friends. So a really popular application for cajons is to play with an acoustic guitarist. El Cajon works beautifully for that. So really anywhere you can use an acoustic cajon, you can use El Cajon. Okay, so the El Cajon is more than just an acoustic cajon. It's an electronic layered cajon. So what does that mean? Well, what that means is that Roland has included two triggers inside the El Cajon. There's one for the head and one for the rim. Now those triggers then trigger samples from a small onboard sound module. There's 30 sounds on board and you can select those to your choice. From the module, the sounds are then played through a speaker here on the front face of the cajon. So that speaker is from Roland's Cube Street amplifier, which is a battery powered amp. The El Cajon is battery powered, which is going to be useful for most of the applications that it's going to be used for. So this is, as far as we understand, this is a world first in terms of putting trigger and sample technology inside a cajon. Okay, so I just want to talk for a moment about the onboard sound module. The module is broken up into 3 different sections, each with 10 sounds in the sections. There's a total of 30 sounds on board. First section is for cajon and cajon type sounds. The second section is for percussion sounds, so things like shakers, tambourines, ethnic hand drums, timbales, that kind of thing. And then the third sound is for special effects and really strictly electronic type sounds. So that one's fairly exciting in the sense that, it's not something we normally associate with a cajon, is to have those kind of 808 style electronic sounds being played and triggered at the same time as you're playing an acoustic cajon. At first, when I heard about that first bank of sounds with cajon sounds on board, I thought, why would you include that on this instrument? Well, the reason is that El Cajon features a line out for the sampled sounds, and using the cajon-like sounds, so there are sampled cajon sounds and some bass drum and snare drum sounds in that first bank. That can be used by a PA, it can be fed into a PA or into a recording interface, into another amplifier, whatever you might choose to do. And that really solves a problem for a lot of live gigs with cajons, especially in a loud stage environment. It can be really hard to put a mic in front of something like a cajon and to get a nice clean signal without it feeding back. Well, now a front of house sound engineer has both a feed from a microphone, which is good, but also they can then blend into their taste samples which aren't going to sound too dissimilar to the sound of a cajon, but it's going to be nice and clean, no feedback issues, lots of control for the sound engineer. So for a live application, that first bank of sounds is a really fantastic idea. For our video today, we're miking up the El Cajon with this condenser microphone here on the front face, which is a pretty standard way to mic up a cajon. We're also taking the line out and sending that to our recording interface. We've also got a stereo pair of room mics as well. So that's the sounds that you're hearing. Okay, so there's two control panels on the El Cajon. The first one is for the player on the top of the instrument. Basically, it enables you to select the sound samples that you're going to be layering in with the Cajon sound. You can also mute the samples using the top panel, and you can also change the threshold or the sensitivity of the triggers. So that's useful for a really heavy Cajon player versus a really light Cajon player. You can then alter the sensitivity of the triggers to suit the playing style. On the rear panel, you have a volume knob for the speaker on the front. You also have a blend knob between the two triggers built in to El Cajon. You've got the line out that I mentioned previously, and also an auxiliary line in, so that if you're jamming along with someone else, either a backing track or another musician, you can actually use the line in and you can blend that with the samples that are being played from the speaker on the front of the Cajon. So they're pretty useful features. Okay, so there it is, the Roland electronic layered El Cajon. A cool instrument, a cool idea. For the first time ever being able to layer sampled sounds with an acoustic Cajon. Lots of flexibility, lots of uses, and we think this is going to be a pretty interesting instrument to see how people use it in the future.